All right, we're going to jump into an important topic and some strategies that's going to help with your the improvement of sleep. So we'll talk about this and address this because sleep is so important, not only for your longevity of your health, but obviously recovering when you put stressor and demand on the body. So we will kind of go through an overview, and then we'll get into some strategies and things that you can do to implement to help with your overall sleeping patterns and sleep in general. So we'll kick into sleep overview and kind of talk about these points that we're going to dive into a little bit more. The circadian rhythms, those are your natural rhythms, which I'll touch base with. I'm going to hit that first. Your sympathetic response, your sleep drive, and then cognitive behavior therapy. All these components are going to be crucial and can affect sleep, and we'll walk through them and give you a better understanding. So obviously with the circadian rhythms, you can see here, we have melatonin, cortisol, and then obviously melatonin, and it goes from night, day, night again. And from this, your body's hormone changes with day and night, obviously. Melatonin is released at night. Melatonin suppresses cortisol, okay? So when it suppresses cortisol, we could be in a better hormonal balance. When day comes, obviously light shuts down melatonin and cortisol increases. So cortisol is not always bad. High levels of cortisol can be bad. So there's a balance here with it. And obviously this is all the circadian rhythm, the natural body's rhythm to light exposure. So light exposure shuts down melatonin again. We are starting to get exposed to a lot of different lights. So blue range lights can stimulate the body and cause melatonin to be reduced. So light can be very disruptive to the circadian rhythm, which we'll talk about that later on as far as in the settings. And then another thing that can impact your circadian rhythm we don't talk about enough is the types of foods or macronutrients you're consuming. So food can train your circadian rhythms. And we will get into a little bit more detail with this because it can affect your blood sugar and obviously some other hormonal components. Carbs can affect the circadian rhythm. They can help you go to sleep. We'll get in a little bit more detail later. So obviously healthy carbs, proteins and fats in the AM will help you wake up. So if you see there that those macronutrients, some of them will help you sleep, some of them will kind of help you wake up, and I'll touch base a little bit when we go into this next section. So if you need to come down at night, you may want to utilize certain foods, a little bit more carb. Coffee and alcohol will stimulate and disrupt your sleep totally. So those are not necessarily the things that you should be going after, which I know some of us do. So the next component we're going to talk about, and this has to do with your insulin release and then hormone release, or stress hormone release. And this is your sympathetic response. And obviously this has to do with your blood sugars. So if your blood sugars are affected, you know, if they drop, you may wake up. If they're too high, you know, we can see that there should be a balance kind of in between these lines here. And that would be more in the normal range. So you want balanced hormones, you know, to basically, you know, save off energy or save energy. Stress hormones release feels, obviously you feel stimulated. It's going to wake you up. So I'm going to go in and kind of explain this a little bit. So obviously, you know, with the blood sugars, adrenaline and cortisol will raise and lower blood sugars. And that's why with this orange line here, that's the stress hormone. So if you're stressed out, stress hormone is going to be affected, you're going to get a stimulation, and that's going to spike your blood sugars. And you'll see based upon this graph, boom, it spikes. Insulin is released, you feel sleepy. It's going to bring you back down. So we want to try to keep that body in this normal range. You know, the breathing component will help as well, and we'll get into that later on. So you have to have a balance, and you want to make sure that your blood sugar is not too high or not too low. Obviously, to release insulin to regulate blood sugar, you know, the body's natural response. You know, if you have a lot of stress, you're probably not going to sleep very well, and you have to figure out how we can manage that stress. So balancing the sympathetic response to keep blood sugars in normal ranges is very important. you do not want to avoid, you don't want to avoid, all starches and sugars. Some simple carbs can help balance this. So you don't want to spike it too hard, and you want to have some, because if somebody's going through a certain diet, or they're pulling their carbs, they may have disruptive sleep. So if carbs disrupt sleep, you need a little carb at night right before you go to bed. If you're waking up in the middle of the night, you may take in a protein or fat, or some type of fiber to keep from having your blood sugar drop to where it wakes you back up, because it's going to stimulate the stress hormone again. So you can do a small carb snack, can aid in sleep. If you wake up repeatedly, your blood sugars may have dropped. So protein and fiber will keep you asleep. A small carb will put you to sleep. That's just based upon how it's affecting your blood sugar. So hopefully this gives you more of an understanding of the sympathetic response. Again, it's driven on stress hormones, and then they can affect insulin, and they can affect the sleep pattern. So if we pop over, and I'm going to go in a little bit more detail on this next one as well, because I just kind of talked about this, so I won't go too far into this. And we try to figure out where we can keep in between, and we're not spiking and dropping too much. So again, starches and sugars, they can help avoid stress hormones. You want to introduce, enough sugar, but not too much. Keep blood sugar stable. So if you see here, this is what it does. So when taken at night, obviously you don't want it to spike up; it'll push down. If you're taking, a protein, fat, and fiber, it keeps your blood sugar from dropping too low, so it pushes it back up. We want to try to keep it in between these lines. So keep blood sugar from getting too high. Obviously helps avoid stress hormones, induced surges. So what it will do is, like a starch or sugar, will keep that, obviously, keep that down in the range where we want it to be, and it's going to avoid that stress hormone surge. So again, balance the sympathetic response. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the sleep drive. So we just talked about the sympathetic, and now we're going to go into sleep drive. Sympathetic is more about the stress hormones and insulin. The sleep drive kind of talks about if you're not getting sleep. So, so if you see the chart, you got 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and it just kind of cycles through. And our natural sleep drive, no sleep deprivation. So you're in that orange, you're getting good sleep from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Some sleep deprivation, you see that next curve is the yellow one, and then some sleep deprivation, green one. So the body can handle short bouts of sleep deprivation. So it's not going to kill you if you can't sleep. And I know we work ourselves up and make it worse a lot of times. You want to try to minimize your stress around sleep, because it will affect your ability to get to sleep. So stress is a big component. It's how you, and we'll talk about the cognitive component here in a second, how you manage stress is going to be important for sleep. So if you get out of your rhythm of your regular sleep cycle, and you're deprived, your body will naturally get you back to sleep, whether it's 2 days later or what. Your body will try to catch up on this natural sleep drive. The body wants to sleep longer and deeper if you're deprived of sleep. So if you miss your sleep, your body will build up sleep drive, and eventually you will fall asleep. There's just no way around it. They've done those, tried to do those world record things and stay up for multiple days. Well, what happens? The body will go back into that natural sleep drive. So just to give you understanding of that, and because it kind of leads up to this next one, cognitive behavioral therapy, because if you miss sleep, it's not going to kill you. It's not healthy to do it multiple days in a row, but your body will go back into that natural sleep drive. So cognitive behavioral therapy, and we'll go through this. Obviously, cognitive behavioral therapy, thoughts create feelings, feelings create behaviors, behaviors reinforce thoughts. So you see this kind of cycle that a lot of people are dealing with or are challenged with, and we're going to give you some strategies to get through this component. Obviously, the thoughts cause the problems. It causes us to be stressed out. I can't sleep, so I get anxious. Anxiety over sleep makes, makes me nap during the day or makes me need meds to sleep. Napping and meds make me not sleep. Vicious cycle. So a person will consistently cycle that. So how you can break that cycle? I can't sleep. No big deal. Do something else. No emotional reaction. No extreme measures. Body's sleep drive, which I just talked about, will kick in. Now you can sleep. So what we typically do is our thoughts create the feelings, and we make a big deal out of not getting the sleep, and we kind of compound it and make it worse. If you don't put big intentions around not getting back to sleep or not falling asleep and not working yourself up with the anxiety component, your body will work itself back into that natural sleep drive. So again, with utilizing the cognitive behavioral therapy, you got to work on yourself and say, okay, I can't sleep, so I get anxious. Anxiety over sleep makes me nap or take meds. Napping and meds make me not sleep. So we have to break that cycle, and I'm going to go right into that because you got to kind of talk to yourself and work on yourself to not have and work up the anxiety component, the stress component around sleep. So what we would do is say, I can't sleep, no big deal. Do something. No emotional reaction, no extreme measures, right? Then body will adjust. Body sleep drive kicks in. I can sleep, and when I can't, I'm just fine, right? So it's cognitive behavior therapy. We're kind of walking ourselves and getting more of an understanding of what our body's going through, but trying to make sure that we don't make it way bigger than it should be and causing more problems around sleep. So hopefully, you understand that a little bit, and you can apply those techniques. So the next thing I'm going to kind of touch base on is the sleep cycle. So this is just an understanding of the total sleep cycle. Stages of sleep, each cycle lasts about 90 minutes. So I'm going to walk you through stages and try to keep it short and sweet. Obviously, it's on this sheet here, or a screen. Stage one is we're in this 4 to 5% light sleep, muscle twitch, 5 to 10 minutes. Stage two is going to be 45 to 55%. Obviously, temp falls, heart rate and breathing fall, memory, consolidation, 10 minutes. And it's interesting. Then we'll actually kick over into the REM, 20, 25 minutes, dreaming eyes, movement, revitalization, memories first, 10 minutes, but gets longer. And then what we can do is we can kick over to stage 3A and 3B and cycle in that. So 3A is 4 to 6, deep sleep, delta waves, growth hormone release, which is really good. And B equals 30 to 60 minutes. And stage 3B is 12 to 15, very deep sleep, rhythmic breathing, no muscle activity. 3A and 3B equal around 30 to 60 minutes. So you may pop up and down in that cycle. So you can jump stage 3A and 3B back and forth. So, stage 3 is obviously broken up into those two parts, 4 to 6% deep sleep, delta waves. And then obviously part B is 12 to 15% deeper sleep, rhythmic breathing, and then no muscle activity. Then you go back to stage 3A and then into REM sleep. So you may cycle it that way. So you may stay in 3A, 3B, then you may kick back to stage 2, and then you may kick back to REM. Again, REM is a 20, 25, and we hear more about that stage because that REM is thrown around a lot more. So as we kick over here, again, we're going to kind of touch on the sympathetic response and blood sugar. And I know we talked about this quite a bit, so I'm just going to kind of reiterate more about just to review the sympathetic response. So you get the sympathetic and parasympathetic, and the blood sugars, the 120 to 80, you want to stay in between those components. If blood sugar goes up, the insulin will be released. Blood sugar too low, sympathetic will kick in, increase blood sugar. Stress will cause the blood sugar to go up high. So again, just reiterating how important the sympathetic response is in that sleep cycle. So now we're going to go into some techniques to help with the sympathetic component. Obviously, we talked about the nutritional aspect of the sympathetic because it can affect, but the relaxation can affect the stress aspect of the sympathetic. So just a long list of things that you can start incorporating to help with the stress component, get you back into sympathetic. Obviously, massages, hot baths, magnesium, Epsom salt are very, very good. The contrast method, when you go from hot to cold components, so you have sauna to a cold shower or a dipping pool. Obviously, laughter, yoga, tai chi, time with pets, cuddling, relaxing music. So those are all obviously things that can help the body relax and get this sympathetic component. Spa treatments, slow walking, sitting in nature, meditation, reading creative pursuits, herbal teas, naps, the breathing components, so diaphragmatic breathing, RPR, and then exercise all help with getting the body to relax and getting that sympathetic stage. Now we're going to jump over into the surroundings. This is very important to set yourself up for success. So obviously you want it dark. So you may have to wear an eye mask, blackout, shades, no lights. If you're going to read, red, if you must, or if you can have it in your room at red light instead of the blue light. So you also want it cool, about 65 to 68, not too cool. Obviously, you want your feet to have some warmth. A way to help this process to get the body to cool back off is take a hot bubble bath prior. And then once you get out, your body will cool back down based upon, those bubbles keep that heat in. Quiet, you can wear earplugs or white noise, which we do. Living in the city, we use white noise that we have for a long time. And you can also use some other components as far as lavender. Obviously, the smell of lavender will help calm you down. You want to make sure your linens are clean and that you're comfortable. You have a good setting for your body to relax, get in that sympathetic and stay in that sympathetic area. When I talked about the linens and things, obviously allergies can be affecting you if you don't clean the linens quite often. The dust component can kick your allergies up and cause obviously congestion. Another thing you can do is use an air purifier. It will help with allergies or pets. So if you want to get into a routine, here's a good example of this: dinner 3 to 4 hours before bed. So relaxing walk after dinner if the weather's accommodating. Small snack 1 to 2 hours before bed. Something non-stimulating until you start getting sleepy. Warm bubble bath with Epsom salt. Obviously, there's a lot of research with the salt component of helping you relax. You can use a relaxing tea and sleep supplement. So magnesium is a good one. Yogi brand bedtime tea is another one. So 40 to 60 minutes before bed. You got to set yourself up for success and get into a really good routine with this. And then if you get disrupted, retaining your rhythm. So you may get something may get disrupted, and there's ways to get yourself set back up for that sleep cycle that we talked about earlier. Standard wake up times. Obviously, you're going to set yourself up for success. Your body likes that rhythmic patterns, that circadian rhythm. Do not sleep until you're tired. That's a mistake right there. Do not lay in bed if you cannot sleep. Get up, go do something. Don't stress yourself out because you're going to affect, remember, that cognitive behavior component. Bright light in the AM, so a light box to wake you up. Cut off sources of blue light 2 hours before bed. So your phones and things of that nature can really affect your melatonin. So just think about that. Take 1 to 3 grams of melatonin before bed, or there's some you can utilize magnesium as well. And then slow, relaxing walk after dinner, small snack, 1 to 2 hours, something non-stimulating. And then warm bubble bath, Epsom salt, relax and sleep. I need to kick this forward for you guys. 40, 60 minutes. Kind of repeated myself, didn't I? This goes into some suggestions. Remember, we talked about the blood sugars and how the hormonal components are affected. This is kind of reiterating, but this gives you some ideas of a little bit more specific with the eating component. So again, I'm just going to reiterate this really quick because the next couple screens are going to help reinforce this. The blood sugar curve, starch and sugars will suppress cortisol and adrenaline. Protein, fiber, and fat stabilize blood sugars and increase, obviously. So what you want to do is last meal of the night, stabilize blood sugar for sleep. So you can take a starchy snack, 200 to 300, grams, maybe close to that fiber, or utilizing fiber, excuse me. You can use maybe 200 to 300 fiber with a starch, and then have some protein and fat as well. So if you're having trouble going to sleep, a little bit simpler carb, not too simple, with some fiber is really good. And then to stay asleep, you want to make sure you have a protein and fat. You'll know your own rhythmic pattern with that. So when I jump into this, it's going to make more sense. So what to eat for bed and how it's going to help you. So eat something within 2 hours of sleep. Smallest snack between 200 and 300 calories. That's what I was talking about. I got mixed up when I went over to grams, so I apologize. Should include a fiber-rich starch with a protein and/or fat. That's perfect. So you're getting at least some carbs. You're getting your fiber because it takes longer to break down, so it's going to stabilize your blood sugar. Protein stabilizes your blood sugar, takes longer to break down. It's going to keep you full, keeps blood sugar good, and the fat as well. It gives a sensation of being full and not craving. So if you wake up and you need to try to get back to sleep, eat something quickly digestible. So more of a simple carbohydrate. 200 to 300 calories, again, should include mostly starches. So a banana would be perfect. Like eat a banana and that should help you go back to sleep and stabilize your blood sugar. Guide to napping. So we're going to talk a little bit about napping. Napping is not always bad, but people can get in trouble with napping. So and they've put napping in a different cycle. So the micro nap, less than 5 minutes, can help with sleepiness. Has little psychological, physiological benefits. So a longer nap is 20 to 60 minutes. And that's more alert and focused, increase in memory, release of growth hormone. You might feel a little groggy. So that's that 20 to 60 range. So there's some benefits in comparison, because you go back, micro nap can help with sleepiness. A little typo there, so I apologize on that one. And then we go into longer, 120, 60. Again, if you have increase in memory, that's going to help because you can be more productive. Release some growth hormones is a good benefit as well. A longer nap, 60 to 90, gets you in a single sleep cycle. Remember, we talked about that, plus REM. All the benefits of short and long naps, so you get all those benefits. REM phases increase creative thinking and more fully grasp an abstract concept. So you're able to process things at a higher level when you get into that full naps, 60 to 90 minutes. So there's some benefits to napping. Obviously, when you get in that 90-minute plus, sometimes when people sleep or nap that long, they go in, they have a hard time waking back up, and they feel more groggy. So you just got to understand and know your body. So hopefully all this helps. I know it was a lot of information. Sleep is key. If you do have questions, we can, obviously answer any of these questions based upon the circadian rhythm, based upon starches and insulin, cortisol, but based upon sympathetic, parasympathetic, and then relaxation component. So again, we covered a lot today on this. If you have questions, please let us know.